Kahn Biteki has released yet another album this year, CyberChild. A Vaporwave artist from Perth, Australia, has released many an EP, an album this year. It didn't start off particularly pretty, but over time, and very quickly, Kahn Biteki gained a knack for putting out trap-based Vaporwave music that kind of relied on sparse instrumentals and a sort of emptiness to drive its stories forward. A style that didn't really resonate with me too well on his last album, Live from the Grave. He purposefully made the tracks sound quite stagnant and dead and kind of disconnected from each other to kind of suit the concept, which was of a man coming back from the dead only to find that he can no longer feel human emotion. But the actual tracks probably weren't as interesting as the concept was, at least to me. Weirdly though, CyberChild's done a similar thing with its instrumentals and its sparseness, its emptiness, but the atmosphere this time around was enough to keep me interested, at least to a decent extent. Now I do continue to notice that at first glance or first listen, there aren't really many spectacular events on this album. There aren't really many blossomy moments. It just seems like it's one very mellow, subdued idea after the next. But there are some cool things to be heard on this album, like the opening track, Virtual Childhood. Beautiful opening. It was also a collab with another Vaporwave artist called Pericardium, and the next track as well is also a collab with Pericardium. And it's a remix of the track Aquatic Ambience from the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack composed by David Wise. And if you played that game or heard that track, you'll know that it's a very serene and pretty track on its own. So remixing it is a pretty interesting idea. I just feel like the trap beats on this track, they kind of clack very loudly and sharply. It kind of washes out the melody, which is probably the bit that I was most interested to hear. It's the main show of the track, so to kind of mask it up with the trap beats is a little bit... And then from then on, the album gets quite varied. You'll get a beautiful track like Mother with those female vocals sampled in, and then you'll get a very bland and drony track like Water Bottle. I think Kahn is still relying on that emptiness. I guess that's kind of the point of this album. But on a musical standpoint, as someone listening to this music, it's not something I can get into because there are times when it just seems like nothing is really going on that kind of seems that memorable. But I guess for someone who's into that sort of more ambient and more sparse vaporwave music, they could probably get into it a little bit better than I did. I think this album is slightly more enjoyable than Live from the Grave because it's a bit more concise, it's a little more straight to the point. I'm thinking this is a 6 out of 10. I think it's alright.